What is up, everyone? Welcome back. Oh my gosh. Gotta turn on the camera. Gotta turn on the camera. Yeah, forgot to do that. So here we go. Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Lou Reviews, your destination for critical thinking in the realm of the unexplained. Please do not forget to smash that like, share, subscribe button and ring the bell. That way you are notified anytime we go live, like today. Totally impromptu. I forgot that the Karl Nell conference was today, or discussion, and it's funny because it went from like 100 live people watching under. It was like 60 something. Now there's 341 people watching this show. So yeah, we're gonna listen to Karl Nell, Colonel Karl Nell, at the SALT conference, and yeah, should be interesting. Let's see if they get any money, shall we? So it doesn't look like they're up yet. It's 2:00, so let's see who the next set of speakers are. While we're kind of waiting for that to start, I want to say hello to everyone. Complisiert, a member Complisiert, Simon Fly, Mama's Dope Boy, Mike the Legendary Gamer, Sparky Pilot, I'm Not Here, This Isn't Happening, also known as Pip. Thank you for being here. 75YBA, thank you so damn much for being here. Let's see here. Sandra McDonald, it is 5:00 in the morning right now for Sandra in Australia. So thanks for being here, Sandra. Yeah, this will be a chill show. It's nothing planned. Let's see here. Bobby Broadway, what's shaking? Yeah, guys, thanks for being here. Appreciate it. All right, yeah, I'll be answering a ton of your questions. If you have like a burning question, and you're not doing the super chat route, which is cool, put it in all caps so that way I can hopefully catch it a little easier. I wanted to really quickly just go ahead and switch to our good old Lou Reviews. What's up, Matt Riot? Guys, don't forget, we have a really cool discussion coming up with Matt Riot here on Thursday, 3 p.m. Pacific with our resident clinical therapist, Andres, also known as Craftbeard on Twitter. It's going to be a lot of fun. I was just looking up some of Karl Nell's bona fides. I've got the SALT conference here on the other screen. So Karl Nell, aerospace executive, senior military officer, corporate strategist, Army Futures Command, University of Pennsylvania. He's got a pretty cool resume. I figured we might as well just check it out while we're waiting on his presentation, which by the way is replacing it was supposed to be Dave Grush who was supposed to be speaking here in New York City, but I don't know, they haven't said why he was replaced, so interesting to see if we ever get the story on that. But about Karl Nell, so again, aerospace executive, senior military officer, corporate strategist, based out of the DC area, vice president and general manager with 25 years of progressive P&L leadership in the top tier Fortune 500 firms, Bell Telephone Laboratories, Lockheed Missiles and Space, Northrop Grumman, Task, Khaki, Ensco, actualizes board initiatives creating 250 million revenue streams in IC, DoD, Fed, Civ markets, proven success achieving operational excellence, new growth, and business transformation in diverse high-end aerospace, R&D, large-scale integrated solutions, and SE&I advisory services. Distinguished fellow congressionally chartered IT Acquisition Advisory Council, Ivy League graduate, multidisciplinary engineer, certified PMP, PIMP, on only what you know about me. Yeah. Man, 50 Cent hasn't made a record in a long time. What's up with that? Published author, War College alumni, and successful brigade commander supporting the 15th or 13th, what is that? Yeah, 18th Airborne Corps and JSOC. Okay, so here we go. We've got Karl Nell, who's about to speak now. Go ahead and turn this up for you guys.
Thank you for coming this evening. I'm glad that we are the final talk of this year's SALT event. And I'm very excited to discuss what I consider to be one of the most consequential questions of our lifetime, which is, are we alone in the universe? And I'm very lucky to have Karl Nell here joining me for this conversation. Karl, thank you so much for coming. And Anthony and AJ over at SALT, thank you so much for hosting this. So Karl, maybe to begin, can you share a little bit about your background, who you are, and perhaps why people should care what you say?
Sure. Well, thanks, Alex. It's a pleasure and honor to be here, and it's a fantastic event, and I'm glad to see a large bunch of folks that stuck it out to the end for this talk. So I was fortunate. I had a 4-year ROTC scholarship to Penn.
You're right. Fair use banner.
I graduated with a degree in electrical engineering. The Army sent me overseas to do Signal Corps engineering projects, so I did a lot of strategic comm projects in Europe. I ended up working in Army Space Command. I commanded a satellite ground station, war trace to the Joint Chiefs. I spent some time at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. The Army ultimately sent me to get a master's in mechanical engineering, a master's in strategic studies, graduate work in computer science. I was on track to stay in, but I decided that I wanted to pursue more of a technical career. So I got out and ended up working at Bell Labs, which was a fantastic place. Unfortunately, I was there during the trivestiture that folks may be familiar with, where the company got split up. I left Bell Labs and ended up working in Lockheed Missiles and Space. I worked at Northrop Grumman. I've ran strategic technology programs in the defense industry, worked for a lot of the 3-letter agencies, ultimately was a deputy chief of staff, or deputy CTO for a $2 billion company. I was a vice president general manager of a Northern Virginia-based R&D firm. I stayed in the military, in the reserve. I commanded at every grade level through brigade. I was fortunate to stand up the Army's newest expeditionary MI brigade. I was the deputy chief of staff for a combatant command. Ultimately, this experience sort of combined to give me the opportunity to come in and advise Army Futures Command, the largest reorganization in the Army Reserve since really 1973, on how the Army could be more effective. And my last assignment
was just thinking this, William.
The UAP Task Force, which maybe is the most apropos for this discussion.
And so, Karl, here's
it's
the
definitely
million-dollar question.
I'm kind of glad you did do that.
Do you believe that a higher form of non-human intelligence has visited this planet?
Right.
Good question.
So non-human intelligence exists. Non-human intelligence has been interacting with humanity. This interaction is not new, and it's been ongoing. And there are unelected people in the government that are aware of that.
And so, Karl, that is quite a bold statement.
Wow. Can you be more specific?
And I'm curious, how confident are you that that is true?
There's zero doubt.
And Karl, what evidence have you seen? What was the moment where you developed this level of conviction? Because what you're saying is extremely consequential and very important. And I know that a lot of people here, even perhaps, may not believe that statement.
Right. Well, probably a better way to ask that is, how can the folks in the audience come to a common understanding of what this phenomenon is? And so there's sort of two tracks here. One is from first principles, and another is actually from the data. So let's take a look at the data. So we can look at some folks that have very high level access to information, like Paul Hellyer, who was the defense chief for Canada, has come out and said the same thing.
Okay,
Ham Eshed, the head of Israel's, or the former head of Israel's Space Force has said the same thing. Chris Mellon, Deputy Assistant Secretary for Intel, SAPCO, has essentially said the same thing.
Yeah.
Lou Elizondo has said the same thing. David Grush has said the same thing.
So no evidence.
David Grush cleared for presidentially
No
level
evidence.
material. So you're looking at people that are in a position to know this, and they're telling you the same thing.
So trust
You
me,
can
bro.
take a look at the Gang of Eight in the Senate and in Congress. So there's two members of the Gang of Eight, Marco Rubio
and Gillibrand.
Senator Chuck Schumer, that signed up to the UAP disclosure amendment last year that basically said they're not being told the truth, and we need to push forward on that. So that's sort of an overview of some of the data. From a first principles standpoint,
Except the Schumer amendment
what's so
failed.
unusual about this realization?
And
There's
Rubio didn't
billions
say
of stars
anything
in the
to defend
galaxy.
it.
Life here evolved in 500 million years, which is basically a blink of an eye. We've found planets around every star that we've looked at. It's likely that the universe is full of life. If you look at the SETI program in particular, the SETI program has all the same assumptions that you would accept and probably make with respect to this topic, except that they believe that non-human intelligence is transmitting signals here. But at the same time, like, we're not transmitting signals. SETI doesn't transmit signals, and the only signals that are actually broadcast of high enough power into space for somebody to pick up come from broadcast television and ballistic missile early warning systems, which you could argue our technology is moving away from. We're going to satellite, we're going to fiber. Broadcast TV is a thing of the past. And if you get to some state where society is stable, maybe we don't need ballistic missile early warning systems. So the other guy is probably not going to transmit. But what the other guy may do is come here if that's possible to do. And there's physics models that suggest that may be possible.
And Karl, I mean, what you're saying is extremely consequential, and you've referenced other people that have said the same thing that also have similar credibility. There's similar reasons for why we should believe many of these folks, yet the government itself
this guy again?
has not formally disclosed. They've been very reluctant to do
feel
that.
like I looked him up.
Why? Why do you think that is?
So there's 6 basic reasons, and this,
Last
again,
year.
you could draw this out from first principles. There's a national security reason. There's the lack of a plan. There's the potential for societal disruption. There's the possibility that there's some non-public agreement. There's the potential for misdeeds and the desire to cover up misdeeds. And there's just the basic organizational intransigence and lack of priority that might be associated with the topic. So all these things are factors. The issue is that really the national security issue subsumes all the others. And so there's an opportunity maybe to contract the national security issue similarly to what was done with nuclear weapons and nuclear energy, such that nuclear energy is not necessarily classified and is available to the public. But lack of a plan and the potential for societal disruption are key ingredients that would prevent any responsible leader from coming forward with information that they don't have the means to address in a responsible way. It would be irresponsible to do that.
Okay, so what you're saying is that you have absolute conviction that a higher form of non-human intelligence has visited this planet, that there are factions within our own government that know about this, yet we still don't have a plan, and they may represent a security issue. This may pose a threat to humans, yet you still believe that we should disclose. Is that right?
Correct, right. So there's really 3 reasons that trump all those others. And those others are basically valid, like I said. So the first issue is the moral right. The government exists for and by the people. And so the nature of reality is fundamentally not government information. People have a right to know the world in which we live, and the pursuit of happiness requires that knowledge. So that's sort of the first kind of overarching philosophical foundation for this.
He started
But,
so good.
As a corollary to that, if there are misdeeds that were done,
It was
then
like,
they
what,
need
a
to
minute?
be remediated. If there's lack of proper oversight, which is suggested by some of the whistleblowers, that needs to be remediated. So the first issue is the moral issue. The second issue is being in a reactive mode is never preferable to being in a proactive mode. So reactive mode is basically trying to prevent disclosure. But failing that, you might get a situation where you have catastrophic disclosure that creates all the problems that you were trying to prevent. So a more
all of the
balanced middle
key
path of
phrases
controlled disclosure
that
is the best way
investors
to
have
do this,
no
which is,
clue
again, an
what these
argument
things
for
mean.
Some amount of disclosure.
It's just they're
And the
trying
third part is
to
simply,
impress them with these
societal
terms.
advance and global competitiveness. More brain trust needs to be brought into this topic in order to make progress and to improve society. And so all three of those things together trump the 6 other reasons for non-disclosure.
And what do you think happens if we don't disclose? I know you mentioned this idea of catastrophic disclosure. Maybe disclosure may be forced upon us. How do you think about that?
So the situation is usually thought of as a binary state. It's like an all or nothing. And
Why
people
don't you
sort of
just
argue
do
this,
it
but
already?
Anybody
Just
paying
do the
attention
catastrophic.
realizes
Everybody's
the government has
fucking
already
ready
indicated that
for catastrophic
unidentified anomalous
disclosure.
phenomena are real. They're not ours, and they're not our adversaries. The Pentagon has said that.
So
like, for people who
silly.
are paying attention, like that shoe already dropped. So for a lot of people, they think
Take Oz, thanks for the sub.
This is non-human intelligence, and maybe the conversation stops there. Like the president comes out and says, there's non-human intelligence. The truth is that will precipitate this crescendo of other questions that maybe the government's not ready to answer, that will court, if not precipitate, potential negative ramification for society. And so as an example of this, I would actually point to something from the ancient past, the Bronze Age collapse. So Eric Klein, Princeton University, 2015, wrote a very interesting book called 1177 BC, the year that civilization failed. And so this is well known to current scholarship. Within a single lifetime, all of the very effective ancient civilizations of the Bronze Age failed due to a confluence of reasons that are not necessarily fully understood today. So we're talking about
half
Egypt,
hour
the
at the
Hittite
most.
Empire, the Minoan Empire, the Mycenaean Empire, the Babylonian Empire. All these civilizations failed, never to return, other than, let's say, Egypt. And so these were highly sophisticated civilizations with highly developed infrastructures, highly developed.
I could hear the audience kind of murmuring
too. They were
too.
globalist in a sense, very similar to today in terms of the known world, the known Near East. They were economically interdependent.
I saw one guy walk out.
Both diplomatic ties and commerce ties.
That was at the top,
and yet
though.
these civilizations failed in a single lifetime because of stressors that these civilizations collectively could not address within the time frame. And so if we look at our society today, one might argue that it's similarly fractured, similarly under economic stress, similarly under cultural stress as well, fractured and fragile diplomatic situation. It mirrors very much this scenario.
Yeah.
And so for a responsible decision maker, that is certainly a factor.
And so I guess when you say that, are you implying that perhaps we as a society may not be ready for disclosure? Or are you saying that we may not be able to defend ourselves against this other force?
Yeah, what are you saying?
There's sort of different viewpoints on whether people are ready to deal with this phenomenon. And popular culture is kind of infused with this stuff. Roswell became a meme a long time ago. We got programs on ancient aliens, Skinwalker Ranch, all this stuff. I guess I would draw an analogy, though, for people that believe in a certain faith tradition, whatever that faith tradition is, and hold to that and subscribe to that in a very serious and devout way, and sort of pose the question, even for folks of that ilk, and I would count myself as one, if you're confronted with the reality of your religious belief system, like the reality of the metaphysical, an angel, a messenger from God, what have you, that's going to be a sea state change in your way of dealing with reality, right? Even though you already believe it, right? So it's one thing to believe and it's another to know. And I think in this context, this phenomenon
I'd love to see
that. The potential for an analogous effect, both on the individual and on society.
Yeah, but do you think that the phenomenon,
Answer the
this
question.
non-human form of intelligence, represents a threat to humanity?
Yeah.
So
Catastrophic
that's a good question too. And
disclosure.
Some of the other folks have sort of framed things in that light, and I guess I would suggest that if
Good question, Pat.
The universe is governed by conservation laws, and it's probably reasonable to assume that
So
laws of
yes
nature
or
that we
no,
understand,
Karl Nell?
apply everywhere. We may have incomplete understanding, undoubtedly we do, of these laws, but they're sort of homogeneous and they apply throughout the universe. And so those laws are governed by conservation rules. There's conserved quantities. And so this reality really forces a Darwinian type competition in order to survive. And so it's reasonable to assume any other civilization that's evolved has come up through the same Darwinian evolutionary process. So I think it's naive to expect complete altruism until and unless you get to a state of post-scarcity, where you essentially have no physical needs that we're kind of encumbered with.
I hope they stop
universe.
Inviting these assholes.
And so in some sense, it's the economics of the future that are going to determine whether there's cooperation, competition, or some kind of symbiosis.
Yeah.
And inform the intention.
Is it yes or no?
Either malintent or complete altruism, I think, is somewhat naive.
Yeah. So it sounds like what you're saying is it's impossible to know the true intentions of a higher intelligence. We may be competing for the same scarce resources. We may not be, right? We may be almost irrelevant from them.
Or he could just be saying he doesn't fucking know.
And they may be acting
because he doesn't want to answer that question.
We cannot safely assume that. And so I guess I'm curious, if we continue down this disclosure path, do you believe that disclosure is inevitable?
So, again, people that sort of look at this topic and study it, and there have been some good examinations on this from a historical standpoint, have realized that, like, we're not in really a new state. Like, this sort of disclosure emphasis has come and gone over time. And so this is not the first time we've arrived at this stage. I would suggest that maybe the peak of this current cycle happened last December with the Schumer amendment, and then it got rolled back and was defeated in the House. And so it remains to be seen, if the process is going to continue. One hopes and can maybe draw a little bit of confidence that maybe this will come around is the colloquy that Senator Schumer and Senator Rounds had back in December. After their amendment got killed, they basically went on the Senate floor and articulated their rationale for the legislation. And I think Senator Schumer, to quote him, almost said it was a travesty that this did not pass.
Oh my gosh.
So this is, a bipartisan colloquy on a topic that I guess most people would probably consider fringe, and yet these two senators felt the need to do that and to double down on their desire to see this through.
And no other senators backed them up.
Maybe a reintroduction of some version of that this summer with the goal of maybe putting it into the NDAA by the end of the year.
Do you think that it's imperative that the United States leads on the disclosure efforts?
So this is an interesting question, too, because this is a global phenomenon, and it's
affecting
you
just answer yes or
other
no?
countries just like the United States. The reporting on this
The answer would be just simply yes. Of course it would be.
Other countries have reported this stuff. And not only that, the Vatican has come out and made statements that reference or tangentially reference this topic. So organized religion has a say in this topic as well. So it's really a whole of planet, whole of humanity problem. And so the U.S. has got its role to play, but these other countries have their role to play, and it would behoove us to recognize that U.S. action could be preempted by another party, and it would be probably more conducive to work collectively.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing that I don't fully understand that I'd love to get your thoughts on, Karl, I mean, if we assume that a higher form of non-human intelligence has been visiting this planet, if we assume that some of the statements made by folks like Dave Grush are true, that we have crash materials, and if we assume that those craft that we may have exhibit characteristics that defy our current understanding of physics, it would seem that that technology would provide an incredible strategic advantage to whatever nation ends up reverse engineering it first. And so, to me, that would imply that there is a race happening to reverse engineer this, and that this topic would be a top priority. Do you agree with that?
No.
So I think some of what you say is a reasonable conclusion to be drawn, and I've suggested something similar in past statements. The point here, though, is to go from a pre-disclosure to a post-disclosure world, maybe two stable states that are separated by an unstable middle ground.
What's his name?
And so how you make that transition, again, bespeaks to the concern about this catastrophic disclosure.
He sounds like Stephen
And this has
Bassett.
come up in sort of arms regulation too.
Pre and
Mutually
post
assured destruction,
disclosure
however much we
worlds.
don't like it, is sort of a stable kind of geostrategic regime. The Reagan era defense shield idea is also a very stable scenario, but to go from one to the other is very unstable.
Yeah.
And so this topic sort of mirrors that.
Yeah, and I know you and I were talking earlier about this idea that in order to really understand the phenomena, it's likely that we have to further our understanding of reality itself. And I guess I'm wondering, I can imagine a future where we acknowledge and we know that there is a higher form of non-human intelligence, yet we still don't truly understand the phenomena. We still don't truly understand reality. And so I guess I'm wondering, do you think that we'll ever truly understand what's going on? Or if part of the game, part of the journey, part of life itself is operating in an environment where at least part of it is fundamentally unknowable to us?
So it's a totally philosophical, epistemological question, right? Really
Yeah,
about the
yeah,
nature
it's
of
like the
knowledge
dumbest-
itself, right? Like, how can we know what we know, and how can we be sure about what we know?
This
I
whole
guess
discussion has
personally,
been
I
a
subscribe to the idea
philosophical
that there is an
discussion.
ultimate truth.
It's
and
just
that,
been a bunch of, like-
humanity being, created in the image of a higher power is endowed with the quality to pursue an understanding of that. And so our part of our objective in this existence is to seek that out and try to understand that ultimate truth to a greater and greater degree. And this would be a component of that, obviously.
Well, Karl, I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today. I'm hopeful and optimistic that together maybe we can
all you get is a half hour?
move the ball forward here and further our understanding of what is really going on, because I certainly agree with you. I think it is very consequential that we figure this out. So thank you again for coming. Thank you again to Salt for hosting us. And
Is
thank
it
you all for
consequential that
listening.
we figure this out?
Bye.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, you guys. So that was Karl Nell's half-hour presentation, and I believe he ended the SALT conference today here at 4:30. These are the other speakers that they had today. 530 people watching. There goes the number. It's just going down. Like, there it goes. There was just 500 a second ago. Everybody's like, all right, out of here. Pence, UAP Mike Pence didn't say shit. Oh, man. That was disappointing. I tell you, he started off really strong. This moment here, when he first came out, I was like, oh, okay, go on. I just want to hear it one more time.
And I'm very lucky to have Karl Nell here joining me for this conversation. Karl, thank you so much for coming. And Anthony and AJ over at SALT, thank you so much for hosting this. So Karl, maybe to begin, can you share a little bit about your background, who you are, and perhaps why people should care what you say?
Sure. Well, thanks, Alex. It's a pleasure and honor to be here. And it's a fantastic event, and I'm glad to see a large bunch of folks that stuck it out to the end for this talk. So I was fortunate. I had a four-year ROTC scholarship to Penn. I graduated with a
this
degree in
long
electrical
list.
engineering. The Army.
This long list, dude. This is so long.
Folks may be familiar with where the company is.
Three-letter agencies.
Deputy Chief of Staff.
Dude,
Vice
he
President
goes
General.
on.
I stayed in the military. I was the Deputy First Command, early 1970. My last for this discussion.
And so, Karl, here's the million-dollar question. Do you believe that a higher form of non-human intelligence has visited this planet?
Right. So non-human intelligence exists. Non-human intelligence has been interacting with humanity. This interaction is not new, and it's been ongoing. And they're
Now, what does that mean exactly? Non-human intelligence, does he mean chimpanzees? Does he mean orcas and dolphins and octopi? Does he mean organic materials that are found on the outside of the space shuttle and International Space Station? Is that what he means? Because on some level, you can call those things non-human intelligence. Their intelligence might be lower than ours, but it's an intelligence of some kind. Like, he doesn't really answer this question. Let's listen to it one more time. The $1 million question.
Most apropos for this discussion.
And so, Karl, here's the $1 million question. Do you believe that a higher form of non-human intelligence has visited this planet?
Do you believe a higher form of non-human intelligence? Why don't you just say fucking aliens, dude? Why don't you just say aliens? Why does he word it like that? But I guess he's implying, or does he word it like that so that way they don't have to say aliens? Nobody ever said aliens. Nobody ever said aliens were visiting the planet. But higher form of non-human intelligence.
Right.
Right.
So non-human intelligence exists.
Right. Okay. True. But not higher? He dropped the higher form of non-human intelligence. Just non-human intelligence.
Planet.
Right. So non-human intelligence exists. Non-human intelligence has been interacting with humanity.
Okay, two statements that when you listen back to them don't mean shit. And at first that sounded impressive, right? You're like, whoa, wait, what? Huh? Okay. You got my ears perked. And then you go back and listen and you're like, not so much.
This interaction is not new and it's been ongoing. And there are unelected people in the government that are aware of that.
There are unelected people within the government that are aware of that. So I guess he means other military people, other three-letter agency guys, other Northrop Grumman guys. Like, what part of the UFO community, and I'm not here, Pip said it beautifully, like, when it's the DOD saying that there's nothing to this, there are a bunch of liars covering things up and you can't trust them. When it's a fake whistleblower saying nothing but pretending to say things, just like Karl Nell just did, it's, oh, you got to respect them, protect the whistleblower. You know, what can we do to help? Immediate trust. It's a very strange thing that you guys do there with that.
And so, Karl, that is quite a bold statement.
It's not. It's not a bold statement, buddy. What's this guy's name again? Alex. You know what? Alex Clokus. Man, they've always got Alex Clokus, entrepreneur, northern-based chef and food writer. Is this the same guy? Yeah. Founder and managing partner of the Salt Fund. Holy shit. I bet you it was Alex Clokus or Clokus who did that fucking meeting in the penthouse, in the New York City penthouse with billionaires that David Grush spoke at. I'm connecting dots here that may not connect, but that makes sense. But he's based out of Northern California. I mean, I don't know, dude. If he's doing this conference out of New York City, Let's check out his LinkedIn. Founding and managing partner of Salt Fund. Oh, Matthew A. donated $2.99 through Super Chat. Thank you so much. Look for Nell versus Wormuth 2022. He's a fraud. Okay, shit. Yeah, we'll check that out right now. Thank you for the tip. Investor and entrepreneur focused on the frontier of science and technology. Yeah, he's based out of New York, New York. So he lives in New York City. Man, this makes sense. This makes sense. Previous founder and chairman of Gravity, a leadership sleep and wellness brand that raised $4.7 million for the launch of the Gravity blanket in 20. Oh, this guy's the guy who did the Gravity blanket. Interesting. Co-founder and investor, Tomorrow Farms, Memori Labs, Radial Health. Co-founder of the Win Brands Group. Thankfully, no military connections, at least not that I can see. I figured you'd put that on there, so that's kind of relieving. But it is interesting to, it's basically a millionaire trying to get his millionaire buddies to invest into UFOs. That's what he's doing. And he's having private conversations with David Grush in a New York City penthouse with his other billionaire buddies like Riz Verk to raise money for like the Soul Foundation. And I was looking, I feel like Karl Nell is part of one of these foundations. Does anybody remember which one he's part of? I feel like I already checked the Soul Foundation. I didn't have time before the show to check, and it's not on his LinkedIn. Project Nanu. Let me check that one. Meet the team. Oh boy. Oh man, you guys. The story that I'm working on right now. Just looking at one of these foundations, and this guy is on one of these teams. But we'll talk about that hopefully by Friday. I'll have some more information on that. I'm getting more information by the day. Let's see here. So research team. Yeah, let's try people. Advisory boards. Rizwan Verk is on the Galileo project. So, as an advisor, scientific advisory board, philanthropic advisory board. Seth Shostak. Huh. That's interesting. Affiliates. Let's see. Sean Cahill's an affiliate. Lou Elizondo. Tim Galladay. Come on, Karl Nell. Come in, Karl Nell. Karl Nell. Yep, I don't see him on Galileo. Nell is part of Sheehan's. Is he? No way, dude. No way. The new paradigm. Paradigm Institute. About. Oh my God. If he's on this. I don't see him. Institute team about. Is there initiatives? Maybe Romero Institute. Maybe he's on that one. No, I think that's just Sheehan's legal thing. Sheehan's first name Nell and Grush last year before they were known. Sheehan named them as part of his institute. So I see Jim Garrison, Daniel Paul Nelson, Sarah Nelson, Anna Mason, Daniel Fettinger, Greg Rose. I'll show you. Katie Emren, Tyler Zarannik. Nice guy, but yeah, that guy makes up a lot of stuff. Leslie Reed Harrison and Kevin Wright. Citizens for Disclosure. Yeah, I don't see him on here. He might have. I mean, definitely Steve Long. That's definitely possible. Why are so many military top brass batshit crazy? Well, that's the same question that Sean Kirkpatrick was asking himself in his office. Like, how did this happen? How did so many military top brass guys become Karl Nell, where he's giving these kinds of talks now at the SALT conference as if it's some real thing?
Everyone.
Giving vague answers. Oh, they took it down. Oh, no, they took it down. No, unless it's up here somewhere. This is from 5 months ago. Let's see. Let's see if they got in there live. Nope. Yep, they took it down for right now. Interesting. Well, we got to watch it here, so you could always reference it here. I do have the link in the description, so if they put it back up, maybe that link will still work. I'm not sure. But it's lame, man. It's kind of lame. It's kind of lame. Yeah, all of this. I honestly, a lot of the times it felt like all he was doing was reading a script. He was just putting his points out there. And what's the evidence? Well, I mean, all the guys that are saying the same thing I am. You know, Dave Grush. Who's the first guy he named? God, it was the Canadian Prime Minister who made some batshit crazy claims around the same time in his life. Paul Hellyer. Once he said Paul Hellyer, I was out. That's exactly when I was like, nope, sorry. I mean, I can't wait to watch the replay of this episode to watch the moment when they say Paul Hellyer, and my hand just goes right into my, or my head goes right into my hands. Like it was. Then he goes on, you know, Christopher Mellon, Dave Grush, Lou Elizondo, all of the same people. All of the same people. So he's working off of the same evidence that's already out there. He's not giving any new information, but this is keep in mind, this is new information for investors, newly minted millionaires or billionaires. They pop in all the time, and there's always people looking to spend money. And so, yeah, I'm interested to know. I thought Karl Nell had to do with the Soul Foundation, and it seems to make sense because I believe David Grush at one point was part of the Soul Foundation. They've changed the foundation. I mean, let's pull it up right now. They've changed this quite a few times at this point. So Gary Nolan, Peter Scoffish, those have been there for a while, since the start. This guy is new. Jonathan, I mean, really, you have to check this thing every week. Jonathan Bertie. Jonathan Bertie is the founder and chairman of board of the driving force behind RoboVision, a leading AI solution provider on the account of their deep learning platform, RVAI, with expertise in applied physics and image processing. There's Tim Galladay, there's Kevin Knuth, Jeffrey Cripple, Avi Loeb, Diana Pasolka, Jacques Vallée, and newcomer Beatrice Villarreal. Oh boy, she's taken the UFO discussion by storm, and now she's on the Soul Foundation. I could have sworn Karl Nell was part of this at some point. And so was Dave Grush. Let me check Americans for Safe Aerospace, because there's a ton of people on that one too. Dave Fravor, Michael Green, Lewis Harding, Advisory Board. There's Brian Bender, Tim Galladay, Avi Loeb, Chris Mellon. He's got to be on here. Jay Stratton, Ryan Graves. Damn, really? He's not on this one either? Oh, man. Michael Green. Team. Yep. Brad Kispin. Yep. Not on here. Okay. Yeah, I could have sworn that they had made a statement, and even something about the legal team being a part of the Soul Foundation thing. Maybe I've got that wrong, but I don't know. It changes so often. Soul Foundation. Anyway, yeah. This is just some kooky shit. It's just some really kooky shit, you guys. It really is. Like, it doesn't make any sense that this is the guy who is vaguely answering questions about UFOs. And I thought it was supposed to be a USO presentation. Maybe I'm confusing that with Tim Galladay. I don't know, but yeah, I'm surprised I don't find him on any one of these 15 foundations. I'm sure if I keep looking. Okay, retired. Okay, yeah, I see this, Steve Long. Thank you. Retired Colonel Karl Nell, the only source the debrief named to support Grush, is now a member of the Soul Foundation, was accused of enacting reprisals against. That's right. That's who he was. He was the guy who did the exact same thing that David Grush is complaining about, which is active reprisals against a whistleblower. Like, this guy has been found guilty of mistreating someone based off of the testimony that they're providing. Oh my gosh, what a jerk. Ah, now I remember. Thank you, Steve Long, for that reminder. Law offices of David P. Sheldon file federal complaint on behalf of wrongfully accused Army Reserve Colonel. Army Reserve Colonel Karl Nell was falsely accused of whistleblower retaliation. These false accusations were found substantiated by the Department of Army Investigator General, despite two different investigating officers expressing deep concerns about the accuser's truthfulness. Despite Colonel Nell's demonstrating the factual errors in the investigation report no less than 7 times to both the Army Board of the Correction Military Records and the Department of the Army IG, these findings were repeatedly upheld. In its last decision, the ABCMR went so far as to hold a non-binding commentary overrode its statutory authority to set aside the IG's findings. So the IG basically was like, no, you're wrong. And he kept fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting it. Having been repeatedly stonewalled by the Department of Defense, institutions tasked with correcting errors or injustice, Colonel Nell came in to the firm in April 21 to clear his good name of these wrongful doings. Now the path to relief for him has begun with the filing of the federal complaint. The firm will be moving for partial summary judgment shortly in order to set aside ABCMR's completely unsupported final decision, which was a blatant violation of its own foundational statute. And then I think this also he lost. Oh, man. The whistleblower reprisals accusations against Karl Nell were repeatedly upheld throughout 6 separate appeals filed by Nell, including in the 2021 case linked above, Nell versus Warmuth. It dismissed as shown in the link below. Yeah, so, yeah. So 6 times. Oh, God, this guy's such an ass. Not a nice guy. Not the guy you want leading disclosure, and certainly shouldn't be the guy speaking to a whole bunch of investors about UFOs are real, or whatever the hell he said, that very, that we've been dealing with non-human intelligence for a very long time. Yeah, that's okay, but higher non-human intelligence? Why did you drop that specificity when you answered the question? That shit matters, man. It really, really does. This is great. This is absolutely wonderful. Yeah, if you guys want, I'm going to send you the link to this Steve Long post that shares all of the 6 times that this guy's retaliation on a whistleblower got denied. 6 times. What a jerk, man. What a jerk. And you're going to have all of these, pro whistleblower, fake whistleblower people out there. Oh man, he's such a good guy. He's so brave. He's giving up everything. Yeah, he's not giving up shit. Like, he's still employed at the Modernization Advisor to Vice Chief of Staff of the Army in the Army Futures Command. Like, he works in the Pentagon. Key contributor to the most significant Army reorganization since 1973. Entrepreneurial leader, successful in conceiving, shaping, orchestrating, implementing transformative national security strategies, business process improvements, organizational designs, and talent development initiatives. Recommended technical programmatic funding actions accelerating the 32 highest priorities of 800 Army acquisitions, orchestrated, led cross-organization digital engineering study, quantifying gaps and opportunities within the... This guy's not fucking stupid. But the things he's saying are really dumb. And they were not answers. So is he orchestrating? Is he organizing? Is he strategizing and implementing and shaping and conceiving a UAP UFO narrative? If so, why? Why? You don't need the money. At least I don't, well, I mean, everybody could use extra money, but it's like, I feel like you have a pretty damn good gig here. And what does the Pentagon think of this shit? What does Susan Goff think of this guy going to the SALT conference? Did Susan Goff work with him to have this discussion at the SALT conference? It makes no sense that the Pentagon, see, this is where it starts to piss me off from the Pentagon standpoint. Here you have the Aero Office saying there's nothing to it, and then the other fucking hand with the puppet on it, who works at the same Pentagon office under the same person, is doing conferences in New York City to investors about the reality of higher non-human intelligence, but not really. Implying that there's aliens here and that we've been interacting with them. It's so strange. It really is. And you can see how someone with a belief system is driven crazy by this and why they have so much distrust for the system and the government. But it's so weird because then they turn around and trust and go hand in hand with the very people they do not trust. It is some of the strangest form of a relationship I've ever seen. It's really weird. But I don't understand why Susan Goff isn't nipping conferences and appearances like this in the bud. I mean, maybe you don't have the right to tell Karl Nell where to go and what to do and what he can say. But it's almost like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Like, I wouldn't do that if I were you, especially if you're looking to get promoted. Can you stop confusing the message? But I'm assuming he's doing this conference because he's not afraid of that whatsoever. Which leads me to believe, well, maybe he's being told to be there. The guy who went after a whistleblower 6 times and failed is now the protector of whistleblowers? It's so strange. And it's incredibly deceiving. At least that's the way it feels, Susan Goff and Department of Defense and whoever is running the Aero Office. I would, if you guys want people to trust you, you can't be doing shit like this. It sends such a confusing message. And if I was a lawmaker, I would immediately have a discussion with Susan Goff and ask her what the fuck is going on. Why are you implying to the American people at investment conferences that add legitimacy to what you're saying? It's a lot of exposure to do the conference they just did. And then on the flip side, saying that there's nothing to this. And they're both coming from the Pentagon. which is under your umbrella, lady. What the hell is going on? It's infuriating. It's infuriating. And it's hard to stand up for the Department of Defense and the DOD in situations like this. It really is. It doesn't make any fucking sense. But what I'm curious also is why David Grush was asked not to speak and why this guy was. The whistleblower was replaced by the guy who went after whistleblowers. Hello? It's damn, dude. It's really bad. Gracie's like, it's really not strange, Lou. I mean... Then the question is, okay, so let's say they're doing this with intent, that they're putting out both sides of this message. The question is then why? And then maybe the obvious answer is, well, it's muddying the waters. It's exactly what they want. I guess it's just very difficult to comprehend that the government and these people really do not, and lawmakers really don't seem to care that this kind of confusion leads to people getting hurt. That really is shocking to me. Like, I know that might be naive and sort of stupid, but it really is like, if I was a lawmaker that had gotten this wrong, I would be doing everything in my power to reverse course on it and make sure that my constituency knows, guys, this isn't an alien thing. It isn't a higher intelligence thing. It isn't a non-human intelligence thing. It isn't a Wakanda theory. It isn't future people. It is simply a national security issue, and I was wrong. I thought maybe for a second, based off of what I was looking at, oh my gosh, and what I was hearing, you know, yeah, I thought for a second that maybe these were non-human, higher intelligent alien beings visiting our planet. But once I did some work, and once I opened the office, and once I did some legislative building and fund gathering, I came to the realization very quickly that, oh, this is drones attacking and surveilling our nuclear facilities and our military bases and our naval fleets. And that these things are getting in the way of training exercises. And pilots are concerned that they're going to get one of these things sucked into an engine and then lose $1 billion jet because we're just not prepared to handle adversaries sending over hundreds and hundreds of drones. Seems like every day. And that the military bases don't have a system in place where they have the permission to shoot these things down only because, well, they don't know what it is. And there's no way for them to classify it quickly enough. So it could be somebody's science project. Could be a hobbyist that got too close to the base. It could be Iran, China, or North Korea. Or Russia with a drone. Like, it's bad. I mean, I guess not talking about it as much sort of helps, but I wish they would. It just seems like it would be so much, it would win you so much credibility and goodwill from your constituency, for the people who vote in your district to say, hey, I got this wrong. But this other part of it is very much right. And so it's still a valid thing, but I need to make my constituency aware, hey, this part of it is, we don't need to worry about that because that's not what this is. I don't know, man. It just seems weird. It's very strange. You know, again, sources and methods, muddying the waters. I guess we could sort of chalk this up to that, but man, it just sucks. It just sucks. Oh, I wanted to give a shout out to our newest member of the YouTube channel. His name is Pro, if it's a he or she, I'm not sure, but PRO. Joined 2 days ago, so I wanted to say thank you to that person. And yeah, Nick D subscribed 21 hours ago. And so let me give that person a little shout. And T-Cause, again, thank you for the sub. Well, yeah, that was it, you guys. That's all I kind of wanted to talk about and watch with you guys and get your opinions on. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed this little watch party. Let me see here. Let's see if you guys have any other questions or anything. Put it in all caps or anything else that you want to say before I get out of here. Let me go ahead and... Woo! Woo! There we go. Let me see here. Jubytheville? Jubytheville? That's an interesting name. Employees who have access to the UFO secrets are like Crispin Glover acting as Bartleby in that movie while saying, quote, "I prefer not to far too often." Frustrating for all the reasons. That's awesome. Yes, I agree with that. Totally. Avi is the most disappointing for me personally. Once he swore there wouldn't be any government hands on Galileo project. He did. He swore that on my show. He swore that on my show. He's like, there's no need for them. Because, well, he said primarily that he's not interested in government funding. And so, yeah, I don't think he's taken any government dollars yet. But he does have a lot of military advisors on the Galileo project. So I can tell you, I don't think they're that active. I mean, they weren't that active a year or two ago when they first joined. You know, I think it's just these guys trying to get their name and their claws into every foundation to legitimize themselves even more. So I don't know. Just a thought. Krishley is live for anyone wanting more critical thinking. She just did a pretty killer breakdown and put another the 700th nail in the coffin for the MH370. So yeah. Where is Heather? Does it matter? Do you really want to know? Hopefully in a cage with a blanket over it, you know? So she just stays calm and sleeps for most of the day. Yeah, she's been getting a lot of shit, rightfully so. So yeah, let them fester in that pool of terrible shit. I'll be over here laughing my sick ass off. Let's see here. Is there anything else? Yeah, good luck on that one, Mama's dope boy. That's, you're probably not going to get that one. I can never get the Discord link to work. Really? Hold on, let me send you one right now. Let me put the Discord link again in this Discord. Oh, I put Discord. Discord. Invite people. Invite people. Here you go. Joe Whip. That's a Discord server. You should be able to get in with that. Apologies if it's been a pain in the butt. Let me make sure that it's in the description of our video here. All right, I just updated that. Might have been the wrong link in the description below. So if it was, I apologize. Yeah, let me change this one here. There we go. Q. Cool. All right, you guys. That's everything. HTID Tricky says, Lou, you should invite Krishley back for UFO watch party and look at Skinny Bob, Jerusalem UFO, and the others that are likely VFX. Skinny Bob would be a fun one. That one's definitely CGI. There's so many things that to me say CGI. But yeah, that could be fun. That could be fun. I did ask her if she is interested in sort of debunking any of these other CGI kind of like videos, and didn't seem like she was like looking for that, but if something fell into her lap, that she might take a look at it. So I think that's a good one. I think that would be actually a really good one for her to take a look at. Yeah, I will figure it up. I'm in quite a few servers, no worries. Safari no like. Oh yeah, it could be Safari. Maybe that's it. I did give it to you from a Google Chrome link. Anyway, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this impromptu Tuesday show. Share it, like, subscribe, ring the bell. That way you're notified anytime we do shows like this. Thank you so much for making this your home and destination for critical thinking in the realm of the unexplained. Thank you for helping us raise the bar here on Lou Reviews. It's all because of you guys that this show is growing in popularity. Don't forget to check out our space on Twitter this Thursday at 3 o'clock, and then we'll be back Friday, maybe with some really big, breaking, crazy news. Normally don't hype stuff like this, but it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. So, yeah, anyway, you guys, have a great rest of your Tuesday, and I think that's it. Yeah, love y'all. Have a great night. Peace.